My game week 14 transfer plans. Game week 13 is over and there are cracks forming all over my FPL team. We have more injuries. We have defenders not wanting to keep clean sheets. We have players being taken off at half time. There are a lot of issues in my team, but luckily for me, I have 2 free transfers and 1.5 million in the bank with a few players I'm keen to bring in and a few players that I definitely know I want to take out. Today, we're going to have a look at my first thoughts, my first plans going into game week 14, those players that I want to sell, anything I plan on doing early for team, potential price changes, or anything I'll leave later to the deadline. Game week 14 transfer plans. Welcome back everyone, FPL Harry here. Just before we dive in, 1,000 likes on the video is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. But my team for game week 14, before any transfers are made, are lining up like it is on screen. We stick with Areola, Crystal Palace at home. Still only one goalkeeper return for me so far this season, which was a clean sheet from Matt Turner. So still very disappointed with that. But we'll talk about potential goalkeeper change in a minute. It's not something I love to do, but with the way that my goalkeepers and defenders are looking at the moment, I might be forced into a change. In defence, I'm happy with Tsimikas. I actually, although he conceded and didn't get any points in the previous game week, I thought he was all right against Manchester City, did an okay job and does have Fulham at home in game week 14. I will, of course, be looking to see how many points that he does or how many minutes he does get in the Europa League for Liverpool midweek, about whether I think he's going to start against Fulham. Gabriel was my only defensive return last week. He got a clean sheet away at Brentford, and the nicer fixtures of Wolves this week and Luton next week do start now. So happy he's in there. And then finally we have Matty Cash. He has Bournemouth away. However, he got taken off at half-time, having started the game at right midfield. And now they have Bournemouth away next week. Then it's Manchester City and then it's Arsenal. Previously, I thought that I would hold on to Matty Cash. However, with the Manchester City and Arsenal games coming up, and he's on 4 yellow cards now as well, there is part of me that thinks he won't start in that Bournemouth game. Now, I could still hold him. Charlie Taylor on my bench does have Sheffield United at home. If worse came to the worst, I could just decide that I want to start him. Part of the reason is I have 2 transfers, but I do look at my midfield thinking there are a couple of changes that I want and like to make as well. Diaby, the first one, him being taken off at half-time for Aston Villa as well, does sort of confirm to me that he is also a minutes risk alongside Matty Cash. With game week 14, 15, 16 taking place in a week, of course, game week 15 is that midweek round of fixtures. A little bit concerned about Diaby's minutes going into that, especially with Manchester City and Arsenal being the 2 games that Aston Villa will really want to be winning. Jared Bowen is still flagged. He missed out the weekend. I didn't mind not playing him, but if he's not going to be back for this Palace game, then I will need to sell him. I brought in Mbeumo this week, happy with him. Salah, I'm also happy with. Now, Son is an interesting one. I'm going to just start this by saying I still think he's a good asset, but there are midfielders that I think are equally as good at cheaper prices that's downgrading him could potentially free up a little bit of money. And up front, it's Haaland and it's Watkins. These two just continue to tick along pretty nicely. They're very nailed in their teams. Over Christmas, having 2 strikers like that feels like absolute gold dust. I don't plan on touching them. They're about the only players in my team that I'm happy with at the moment. So the first big issue for me for now is midfield, and it was the part of my team that I wanted to fix first. My defense this week looks okay. There are players that are maybe risk going forward, but for now, I think it's okay. Diaby, Bowen, and Son are the 3 midfielders that I'm potentially looking to transfer out. Diaby, I'm pretty certain is going to go to Cole Palmer this week. If he doesn't start in Europe on Thursday, then I might decide to play him against Bournemouth, but Cole Palmer does have Brighton at home this week, so I might just make that move anyway because I know Palmer's likely to go up in price this week and Diaby's likely to come down in price this week. So it makes a sensible transfer. Now, in terms of my second move, there are 2 players in Bowen and Son that I am potentially looking at transferring out. I've put Gordon in here as a sort of talking point. I've been very hit and miss with Gordon so far this season. There are times I think I've advised buying him. There have been times like this week I advised getting rid of him. Newcastle are also very hit and miss at the moment. 5.8 million, I suppose where my conclusion is at the moment is over a long period of time, he is really good value and I think he should continue to do well. If I was wildcarding, I still don't think I would own him. But if you've got him, then he feels like a definite keep the way he is involved for Newcastle at the moment. But the midfielder I would be bringing in for either Bowen or Son is probably not Anthony Gordon, it is Bukayo Saka. Like Gabriel, they have Wolves and Luton in the next 2 games. So that is the other transfer that I want to make. Now, if Bowen is going to be out, Bowen up to Saka and Diaby to Palmer for 2 transfers seems to make a lot of sense. However, if Bowen is going to be fine, I kind of have to make the decision going forward on Son versus Saka. Now, they're pretty equal. Saka has slightly better short-term fixtures. Son is playing up front. He has looked a little bit weaker without Maddison, although he did score 3 times against Aston Villa, all of which were ruled out for offside. So if you owned or captained Son, you are very unlucky in that game. Saka does just continue to tick along. The data's not as good, but with the fixtures, the way he's just ticking along, I just feel like I really want to go with him. He also frees up an extra million in my team, right, that will really help bolster my defense. My defense looks a little bit weak at the moment, but with that million and some of the other money, I could look at the likes of Kieran Trippier, who I do think is still a good asset. He put 16 crosses in at the weekend and hit the bar from a free kick. It could get me to the likes of Pedro Porro. It could get me a second Arsenal defender as well. So right now, if Bowen is going to be available, Derby to Palmer feels like a no-brainer. And then I think I might sell Son and buy Bukayo Saka. Now, I also have an issue in goal. I feel like a lot of us have an issue in goal, but Areola and Turner is not working. Turner doesn't play anymore, and Areola, well, he's not keeping any clean sheets or anything at all anymore. There are 2 options that I could do, which require exactly the same amount of investment. The first one, which is the one that I've thought I was going to do for a long time, is upgrading Turner all the way to Sanchez and keeping Areola and Turner as a rotating option. I posted the rotating option on Twitter. It rotates really nice all the way up until pretty much the end of the season if I was to go with these 2. So there is part of me that thinks I could just do that. However, for the same 0.6 million, I could take Areola out and go and buy David Raya of Arsenal. Arsenal have an expected goal conceded every 127 minutes. That is less than 1 a game. That is by far the best in the league, and David Raya is 4.9 million. Now, some of you might say Ramsdale. I've spoken to Arsenal fans. They don't think Ramsdale's going to get any minutes. He didn't look good at the weekend as well. Very nearly conceded off a couple of mistakes. David Raya hasn't set the world alight, but he definitely feels like first choice there. So it's probably not a transfer that I'm going to make this week. I've got other things that I need to do in my team, but I am definitely planning a goalkeeper transfer at some point over the next 3 or 4 game weeks once I get a spare transfer to either go and get Sanchez to rotate with Areola because the Chelsea fixtures coming up are really nice, or just to go and get the best defence in the league and buy David Raya. Now, the only reason that I probably might not end up getting David Raya is if I go for a double Arsenal defence, because I've already got Gabriel, but I do have cash who I feel like I want to sell, and I could go and buy probably Saliba. Now, Zinchenko is also there, but I do still worry a little bit when Ben White's back. Tomiyasu getting minutes at left back. We have seen it so far this season. So I would just go for the security with Saliba, I feel, if I was going to double up on the Arsenal defence. Cash to Saliba, again, I have the money in the bank. I could even do that this week if I don't decide to sell Son and Bowen this week as well. So I am eyeing up Raya, but I am definitely looking at a double Arsenal defence given how solid they have been this season. So looking at my team for this week, I know that my defence and goalkeeper is an issue, but I don't necessarily think it's an issue that I need to fix this week. Derby to Palmer is a transfer I'm pretty certain I'm going to make this week because I know I'm going to want to make it going forward. Palmer didn't get anything this week, but I still think for the fixtures coming up, I want him in my team as an incredible enabler. Then the other one is likely to be Son or Bowen to Bukayo Saka. Again, I will say it again. Bowen will go if he's injured. If not, I don't think Son is a bad pick. But at 9.7 million, the million I could save on Saka with the fixtures, with the form without Maddison for Spurs, I am a little bit concerned about Son at his price. If he was $1 million cheaper, if he was the same price as Saka, I'm pretty sure I would not be making that transfer. However, he's not, so I have to consider that. That will free up a lot of money. It will free up money to potentially go for the likes of Kieran Trippier in a couple of weeks, to go and get David Raya, to go and get another Arsenal defender in Saliba, if I want to as well. I'm focusing on midfield this week. I feel like my defence is okay for 1 week. If I don't think Cash is going to start, I have Taylor on my bench to come in. I need some points. It was a disappointing game week 13. Sat on a red arrow with Manchester United game on at the moment. And then, of course, Fulham Wolves on Monday night as well. But we have so much FPL to come. We have game weeks 14, 15, 16 taking place on like Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday again. So things can change very, very quickly in the land of FPL. And fingers crossed, it does for me and my FPL team as well. Drop any questions you have about your team in the comment section down below. If you are a Son owner, what are you planning on doing with him? I imagine most of you are deciding to keep him, which is completely fair enough. But if you are selling, who is it that you don't own that you want to go and buy? Any thoughts about my team and my transfers, drop it all in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. 1,000 likes on the video is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I'll be back again very soon.